Welcome to this video, where we will be diving into the tragic events that occurred on Mount Rainier in 1981. The story of the 1981 Mount Rainier tragedy is one of adventure, danger and ultimately heartbreak. This was a time when mountaineering was still in its infancy, and the allure of conquering the tallest mountain in Washington state was irresistible to many. However, what began as a daring ascent to the summit quickly turned into a nightmare as a catastrophic avalanche claimed the lives of 11 people, including one experienced guide. The events of that fateful day shook the mountaineering community to its core and left an indelible mark on the history of this majestic mountain. Join us as we explore the factors that led to this tragedy and the lessons learned from it. On Mount Rainier, almost 40 years ago, one of the most tragic climbing accidents in the history of the US happened. Mount Rainier is the most conspicuous peak in the Cascade Range, and it also happens to be the tallest mountain in the state of Washington. Mount Rainier is one of the tallest mountains in the US, reaching an elevation of 14,411 feet at its top, making it the highest peak in the state of Washington and one of the tallest mountains in the country. The mountain is particularly well known for the extensive glacier that covers its slopes. Mountaineers, hikers and those who like outside go to Mount Rainier since it's such a popular location. Nonetheless, due to the unpredictability of the weather and the perilous nature of the terrain caused by the glaciers, it may be difficult and risky to visit. An incident took place in 1981 when an icefall avalanche hit a party of mountain climbers, resulting in the deaths of 11 people, including a guide. This was one of the worst disasters of its kind. The event occurred on the Ingram Glacier, which is one of the primary paths that leads to the peak of Mount Rainier. The unpredictability and rarity of the avalanche made it impossible for the guides to eliminate the threat posed by the avalanche. As a result, this disaster could not be avoided. Since the accident took place on Mount Rainier, the trails and rest stop on the mountain have been under regular evaluation and are susceptible to change as the mountain evolves. Avalanche gear is another method of mitigation that mountaineers use, even though it cannot ensure the climber's entire safety. On the 20th of June 1981, a party of 23 inexperienced climbers and 6 experienced guides from Rainier Mountaineering Company set off from Paradise Hotel in the direction of Camp Muir. The mountaineers made their nighttime camp at Camp Miriam before making their attempt to reach the peak of Mount Rainier the next morning. The next morning at 3:30, the team left Camp Muir to begin the ascent of Mount Rainier. After the traversal of Callard's Glacier and the ascent of Cathedral Gap, the group stopped for a break on Ingram Flats while the guides continued their climb up Disappointment Cleaver. 20 climbers continued their ascent as 3 guides went to the summit of Disappointment Cleaver to evaluate the avalanche risk. Since they didn't believe they had the energy to make it to the top, 3 climbers asked their guide to take them back to Camp Muir. After conducting a snow test to assess the conditions, the guides concluded that it was not safe to continue climbing to the peak. They reversed course and began making their way back to the other members of the squad who were located at Ingram Flats. Then they heard a tremendous cracking sound for the first time. The Ingram Glacier's ice wall was the source of an ice wall that was 800 feet tall and 300 feet broad. The ice wall caused a considerable amount of snow to get dislodged, which in turn caused snow and ice to hurtle down the glacier in the direction of the party of climbers. According to the stories, the group simply stood there for a single second and gazed at the ice dropping down, not knowing what to do since it's just crazy to watch the snow coming towards you. The guides then called for everyone to flee and everyone began rushing, but it was too late. The team was trapped in the avalanche and 11 of them were able to dig themselves out, but the remaining 11 were swept into what they assumed to be a crevice that accumulated all of the snow and ice that was flowing down the mountain and buried them. Rescue attempts were immediately put into motion. It had just started to snow when they made the decision that they might come up and locate them the next day, but their efforts were fruitless. A few objects including poles, a hat and a camera were discovered, but no individuals. This is a really unfortunate turn of events. The question now is, what led to this terrible accident? The ice ball broke apart due to an unanticipated ice fall fracturing and sent ice tumbling down the mountain, which dislodged all of the fresh snow and generated an avalanche. I suppose you might characterize it as some strange hybrid of a corn ice collapse and a slab avalanche. These icefall zones are susceptible to glacial movement, which is beyond the control of anybody and everyone. You can't stop a glacier from moving, and when it dislodges regardless of you want it to. The names of the victims are mentioned here. This becomes a headline on a national level. The information was spread to a diverse audience. This tragic catastrophe claimed the lives of 11 individuals, including the guide. In this circumstance, mitigation is a challenging subject to discuss because in the wilderness it all boils down to decision making. Even when you're in an area where the avalanche danger is low, it still exists. Because of this, it's not impossible to completely mitigate this kind of avalanche danger, especially avalanche danger that involves glacial movement. A wicked learning environment is one in which you have to learn as you go, and it's very unforgiving of mistakes. In an atmosphere such as mountaineering, its particular instance, these guides were demonstrating a desire to lessen the impact of the problems. Because of what happens, the trails and rest slopes have been re-evaluated and they will continue to be subject to modification as long as the mountains continue to evolve. Avalanche gear is another type of mitigation that can be utilised, and while the tech was still in its infancy at this point, it has seen nothing but advancements since then. Despite this, it does not prevent accidents of this kind from happening. While engaging in activities such as climbing, there is no way to eliminate the possibility of injury. In 1981, Mount Rainier tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the inherent dangers of mountaineering and unpredictability of nature. It highlights the importance of understanding and respecting the environment in which we choose to pursue our passions and the crucial role that risk assessments and decision making play. One of the key lessons we can learn from this tragedy is the importance of recognizing the limitations of our abilities and equipment. Furthermore, the tragedy underscores the importance of teamwork, communication and leadership in high-risk environments. It serves as a reminder of the need for clear and effective communication between team members and the critical role that leadership plays in ensuring the safety and well-being of its members. Overall, the 1981 Mount Rainier tragedy provides valuable lessons for all those who seek to explore the mountains and pursue adventure, and serves as a reminder that in order to do so safely, we must remain vigilant, respect the environment and always be prepared for the unexpected. We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking. We encourage you to continue learning about mountaineering safely and the risks involved in high-altitude climbing. Remember, while it's exhilarating, mountaineering can be extremely dangerous and it's important to prioritise safety. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more educational content about outdoor activities and adventures. Thanks for watching and we hope to see you in our next video. Stay safe out there.